The food never came that night. At Sing Sing prison in Ossining, New York, food is routine. Bells ring. Doors move. Trays slide. Nothing is supposed to change. But this time, the slot stayed closed. The inmate stood inside his narrow cell, staring at the metal door. He waited. He listened. He told himself it was a mistake. Minutes passed. Then an hour. His stomach hurt, but that was not the worst part. The worst part was the silence. No guard spoke. No footsteps came back. That was when fear set in. Because at Sing Sing, when food disappears, it is not an accident. It is discipline. And this was only the beginning. Sing Sing prison sits beside the Hudson River. From far away, it looks quiet. Old stone walls. Tall buildings. History in every brick. This prison has been here for almost 200 years. Long before modern rules. Long before cameras. Long before people asked hard questions. Sing Sing has held some of the most famous inmates in American history. Men from New York City have been sent here for generations. Some arrived young. Some arrived angry. Many arrived scared. Over time, Sing Sing became known for discipline. Strict discipline. The kind that breaks rules quickly. The kind that breaks people slowly. One of those people was Michael Turner, transferred from New York City just months earlier. Michael was not famous. He was not powerful. He was just another man who made bad choices. When Michael arrived, guards told him the rules clearly. Follow orders. Keep quiet. Do not cause trouble. Michael nodded. He wanted to survive. At first, things felt normal. Meals came on time. Recreation happened. Counts were done. The prison felt strict but fair. Then Michael spoke back during count. Just one word. Here. He said it too slowly. The guard stopped. Looked at him. Wrote something down. Nothing happened that day. Nothing happened the next day. Michael thought he was safe. He was wrong. Sing Sing uses discipline methods that have been debated for decades. Some are old. Some are new versions of old ideas. Isolation. Food restriction. Loss of privileges. Officials say these tools are used to keep order. Critics say they go too far. Michael learned how they worked. 2 days after the count incident, his recreation hour was cancelled. No reason was given. The door did not open. The next day, his dinner tray was smaller. Not empty. Smaller. Enough to notice. Michael told himself it was nothing. He ate slowly. He stayed quiet. But the prison was watching. At Sing Sing, discipline often does not come all at once. It comes in pieces. Other inmates noticed changes too. Anthony Brooks, another man from New York City, had been at Sing Sing longer. He knew the signs. When food changes, something is wrong. When silence grows, something is coming. Anthony warned Michael quietly during a rare moment near the showers. Keep your head down, he whispered. They don't forget here. Michael nodded. He did not know how true that was. Sing Sing's history is filled with stories like this. In the past, inmates were punished by being locked alone for days. Sometimes weeks. Sometimes longer. Food was reduced. Lights stayed on. Silence was forced. Over the years, reforms were promised. Rules were changed on paper. But some practices never fully disappeared. They just became quieter. More controlled. Harder to prove. Michael felt the pressure build. His meals stayed small. His cell checks came more often. Guards stopped explaining anything. Then came the order. Pack up. Michael froze. Why? He asked. The guard did not answer. Michael was taken down a long hallway. The walls felt older here. Colder. The lights were dimmer. A heavy door opened. Inside was a smaller cell. No window. No clock. This was isolation. The guard pointed inside. Step in. The door closed. The sound echoed. Michael stood alone in the dark, his heart pounding. He did not know how long he would be there. Hours passed. Then hunger came back strong. No food arrived. No voice spoke. Just silence. This was discipline at Sing Sing. And Michael was not the first. Isolation changes how time feels. Minutes stretch. Hours disappear. Thoughts turn loud. Michael tried to sleep, but the light stayed on. He tried to count time, but there was nothing to count. At some point, food came. A small tray. Barely enough. Michael ate it all. The next day, nothing came again. This was not random. This was control. Outside the isolation unit, The prison moved as normal. Counts happened. Meals were served. Guards walked their routes. Most inmates never saw what happened behind those doors. That made it easier to deny. Anthony Brooks noticed Michael was gone. His cell was empty. He knew where Michael was. Everyone did. But no one spoke. At Sing Sing, silence keeps you safe. After 3 days, Michael was released from isolation. No explanation. No warning. He was returned to his cell, thinner and quieter. Anthony looked at him and knew something had changed. Michael no longer asked questions. He no longer looked guards in the eye. He ate whatever came and said nothing. That is how discipline works. It teaches lessons without words. But Sing Sing's dark practices do not always stay hidden. Complaints have been filed. Lawyers have asked questions. Families have noticed changes. Why did their loved ones lose weight? Why did calls stop suddenly? Why did behavior change so fast? Officials respond with the same answers. All procedures were followed. Discipline was necessary. Inmate safety was maintained. But behind the stone walls, stories like Michael's continue. And sometimes, discipline goes too far. Late one night, long after lights out, a sound echoed through the tier. A loud bang. Then another. Then shouting. Guards ran. Radios crackled. Doors slammed. Anthony sat up on his bed, heart racing. Something had gone wrong. In the isolation unit, a door was open. 2 open. And as alarms began to sound, one terrifying question filled the prison halls. What happens when discipline breaks instead of controls? And deep inside Sing Sing prison, as guards rushed toward the noise, the dark history of the past seemed ready to repeat itself once again. The alarms stopped as quickly as they started. At Sing Sing prison, that was never a good sign. When alarms screamed and then fell silent, it usually meant one thing: the situation had been contained before anyone outside needed to know. Anthony Brooks sat on his bed, back straight, hands on his knees. He did not move. Moving drew attention. Attention brought discipline. Across the tier, guards' footsteps echoed, fast and sharp. Radios whispered. Keys clinked. Doors opened and closed with heavy force. Someone had lost control. And at Sing Sing, when control slips, the response is never gentle. Michael Turner did not hear the alarms from his cell. He was back in isolation. Again. This time, no warning came. No pack up. No explanation. Guards appeared, opened his cell, and told him to step out. He was cuffed, escorted, and locked away before he could even ask why. The isolation cell felt smaller than before. Or maybe Michael felt bigger. He had lost weight. His clothes hung loose. His face looked older in the reflection of the steel sink. The door shut. The sound echoed. Michael sat on the floor, knees pulled to his chest. He tried to stay calm. He told himself it would not last long. But Sing Sing had a way of stretching time. The incident that triggered the alarms happened 2 cells away from Michael's old spot. An inmate from New York City, younger than most, had refused an order. Not loudly. Not violently. He had simply sat down and stayed still. Guards told him to stand. He did not. More guards came. Words were exchanged. Then came the bang. No one outside the prison would ever know exactly what happened next. Reports would say inmate noncompliance. Officials would say use of force was necessary. But inmates heard the shouting. They heard the fear. And they felt the shift. After the alarms, discipline tightened across Sing Sing. Recreation hours were shortened. Meals were quieter. Guards stopped explaining anything at all. Food portions changed again. Smaller. Slower. Anthony noticed immediately. He had been inside long enough to read the signs. "They're tightening the leash," he whispered to another inmate during a brief hallway moment. The other man nodded but said nothing. Silence was survival. Michael counted days in isolation by meals. Or the lack of them. One day, a tray came with a small portion of bread and soup. The next day, nothing. His stomach burned. His head hurt. His thoughts began to drift. He tried to remember simple things. His sister's face. His mother's laugh. The sound of a bus in New York City. The images came. The sounds did not. Isolation was taking pieces of him. Guards checked the slot but did not speak. Mental health staff came once, asked questions through the door. "How are you feeling?" "Hungry," Michael said honestly. There was a pause. "You need to follow rules to return to general housing." "What rule did I break?" Michael asked. No answer came. The footsteps moved on. Outside isolation, Anthony watched the prison change. He saw more inmates disappear into the old unit. He saw more men return quiet, thinner, careful. Sing Sing had done this before. Years ago. Decades ago. Different rules. Same methods. Back then, discipline was open. Harsh. Spoken aloud. Now it was quiet. Paperwork replaced chains. Policies replaced fists. But the effect was the same. Break the will. Restore order. One afternoon, Anthony noticed Michael's cell was still empty. Too long. He filed it away in his mind. Long isolation was dangerous. Everyone knew that. Later that night, Anthony heard something unusual. Crying. Not shouting. Crying. It came from far down the tier. It did not last long. But it stayed in Anthony's head. Michael stopped eating completely on the 5th day. Not because he wanted to die. Because he wanted control. If they controlled food, he would control refusal. His body weakened quickly. Standing became hard. His hands shook. When guards noticed, they brought medical staff. "Why aren't you eating?" a voice asked. "Because I don't know why I'm here," Michael said. The voice sighed. "This is for your behavior." "What behavior?" Michael asked again. No answer. That night, Michael lay on the floor, too tired to climb onto the bed. The light stayed on. Sleep did not come. Back in general housing, the tension broke again. Another inmate refused food. Then another. Not planned. Not organized. Instinct. The prison reacted fast. Food trays were removed early. Cells were locked down. Recreation was cancelled completely. Guards filled the hallways. Sing Sing had seen hunger before. It did not like it. Late that evening, a sound echoed through the isolation unit. A hard bang. Then shouting. Then silence. Michael lifted his head slowly. Footsteps ran past his door. Keys rattled. Orders were shouted. This time, alarms did not stop quickly. They rang longer. Louder. And somewhere very close, a door opened that was never meant to open so fast. Michael pressed himself against the wall, heart racing, fear flooding his chest. Whatever discipline was meant to control. It was starting to unravel. And as Sing Sing prison rushed to contain another crisis born from silence, hunger, and isolation, one truth became impossible to ignore. When punishment becomes the system, it eventually turns on itself. And the worst part was still coming.